Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking care of our spare tire. Right now we're running the 35 milestar Patagonia on the factory spare tire carrier. And right now, as you open and shut the door, the bottom of the tire does rub on the bumper. So in interest of trying to make this stronger, we purchased the EVO heavy duty spare tire carrier, and we're going to go through unboxing and installing that today. So if this is something you're interested in, please stick around for the video. If you're new to the channel, we are building up our JL to do some overlanding and some mild trail work. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please subscribe, like, comment, and stick around. So, all right, so there you have it. You have the carrier itself, the shim plates for the tailgate, the new hinges, and then the carrier assembly, and then all the hardware that you need for it. So we'll go through it step by step. The first thing we got to do is take off the spare tire. All right, now that we got the spare tire off, the next step is going to be putting the bushings in. Now they recommend putting some WD-40 on the plastic bushings before you slide them in. Now that we got the bushings in, we got some things we got to take off. We got to take off the plastic piece to gain access to the bolts back here for the tailgate hinge. And the first thing we're going to do is remove that. We're going to take some of our wedge tools to pop some of the plastic loose. The first thing you got to do is we got to get the retaining clip behind the seat belt off. This is actually a cover that covers the bolts for the hinges. So before we take anything else off, we wanted to be able to gain access to that. All right, now you can see where the hinge bolts are. All right, the next step is to take all of the hardware for the backup camera and wheel lug nuts, as well as all the stuff for the spare tire carrier to get to the wiring. And that uses a T25. That gets your backup camera off, and now it's time to take the rest of the assembly off. And these just take a 13mm socket. I want to try and keep track of where the body lines are. So we're gonna just put some tape. That's gonna show us how much it sags once we let these hinges go. All right, these tailgate hinges, they use a T55, and we're going to use a 1/2 inch wrench with a 3/8 inch adapter, trying to put some nice even pressure on them to make sure we don't strip them out. All right, once you get that last one out, you just slide it right out. So, steel bracket with an aluminum piece. All right, now that we got all that straight, we got some assembly to do on the EVO bracket to make it ready to put right back on the tailgate. So EVO recommends that you put the brackets on first. And before you do that, you have to install the bushings, and these are basically stops for the tire carrier itself. All right, we're going to tighten these up, and this just takes a 13/16 socket and a 7/8. 7/8. So we're just going to make them take this slop out of it. All right, the next step is EVO gives you an adjustable carrier where you can mount it high for ground clearance, or you can mount it all the way low for sight out of the back window. We're not really so much interested in the sight out of the back window, but we are interested in ground clearance. So we're going to mount this all the way to the top. And the reason why we're doing it now is because once it's on the vehicle, it's really difficult to get to the bolts. All right, so these are, you need a 5/8 inch socket and a 5/8 inch boxing wrench. So based on how tight these are, you probably want to go about getting these through the top like this, flipping it over. These 3 screws right here, they're T8s. And you can't get them off without it. And then it has just a clip on the back. And once you pull the camera off, that'll slide right down through. Just set the camera somewhere. These 2 wires are going to have to get fished through the tire carrier once we get it assembled. So that'll be the next step. These big shims have got to go in, and what they do is they basically make up the difference between where the bracket is and the recess in for the bottom. All right, now that we got all those in, we're just gonna go about putting the rest of the bolts in, just to get everything snugged up. All right, it looks like we got everything pretty much straight, so we're going to tighten up these. All right, guys, so it's the next day. I finished this late last night. It got dark. It gets so dark and quickly in the fall, it's hard to put together. But what I will say is that getting the tailgate set right is super difficult. So it doesn't matter with the tape, it doesn't matter with the alignment. You really have to mess with it, and I think I probably messed with it for about an hour and a half before I got the body lines right, so that the door could shut right. So just be prepared that if you do one of these things, to have the time to get the door so it's set so it closes right, especially once you put the weight of the tire on there. The instructions were easy, the install was relatively easy. It was setting the door that was the biggest problem. And then there's one thing that if I had any criticism about the EVO system, it's for the third brake light mount. So they're cool. So you have a housing mount and then the light for the brake light itself. The issue is that it has to bolt to the camera. So this piece actually has to go over top of the camera, and then the brake light goes on top of that. And while that's fine if you never have to use your spare tire, but for those of us who may need to use your spare tire, to have to take these 3 little bolts out every time you want to take the spare tire off, because this now is in the way of the camera coming off, I just think it's a bad design. So what ultimately we're going to end up doing is going with one of the rings that sits behind the tire. We just have to get it. So other than that, I'm happy with the product. Again, this is cool, not very useful for at least my application. So I hope you guys liked the video. I know it's a little bit long, but it is just an in-depth kind of install. There's a lot of things that you have to put together to make everything work. So like I said, I hope you liked the video. Please like, subscribe, comment if you want to. We'll see you next time. This is Fisher Jeep Adventures. Thanks for watching.